Let's rewind to 1989. Sega is trying to break into the home console market in a big way. They need a hit, something that shows the Genesis isn't just another console, but a serious contender to Nintendo's dominance. That game was The Revenge of Shinobi, a side-scrolling action platformer that delivered tight controls, striking visuals, and one of the best soundtracks of the 16-bit era. It was fast, challenging, and cool in a way that set it apart from what players were used to on the NES. And here's the kicker. It also had Spider-Man, Batman, Godzilla, and even a Rambo lookalike all in one game. But how? Let's dive into the wild story behind The Revenge of Shinobi, its gameplay, legacy, and some trivia that'll blow your mind. The Revenge of Shinobi was developed and published by Sega and released for the Genesis in 1989. In Japan, it was known as the Super Shinobi. It was the first Shinobi game designed specifically for home consoles rather than the arcades. That meant the team had room to create bigger levels, deeper gameplay, and a soundtrack that truly stood out. The director was Noriyoshi Ohoba, and the music was composed by none other than Yuzo Koshiro, whose name would become legendary among video game music fans. His soundtrack for The Revenge of Shinobi used a custom audio driver that let him push the Genesis sound chip in ways players hadn't heard before. It blended traditional Japanese melodies with pulse-pounding beats that matched the ninja's theme perfectly. This game was also a bit infamous for its bosses. In early versions, players faced off against what were clearly Spider-Man, Batman, Godzilla, and a Terminator-style enemy. These weren't official crossovers. They were basically unauthorized cameos. Sega had to revise the game multiple times to avoid legal trouble. Later versions replaced or altered these characters. Spider-Man became licensed in one version, then modified later. Batman turned into a bat-like demon. Godzilla was swapped for a skeleton dinosaur. The core of The Revenge of Shinobi is a classic action platforming. You play as Joe Musashi, a ninja out for vengeance after the evil Neo-Zed organization murders his master and kidnaps his bride, Naoko. Joe's arsenal includes shurikens, a katana, and powerful ninja magic. The magic system let players choose between different arts: a fire dragon that scorched everything on the screen, a lightning shield for protection, a high jump, and the famous suicide magic that sacrificed a life for massive damage. The controls were tight and responsive, with double jumps that let skilled players pull off tricky maneuvers. Each level had its own theme and unique enemies, from urban landscapes to bamboo forests, military bases, and high-tech layers. The game was hard but fair. You had to learn enemy patterns, time your jumps precisely, and manage your magic wisely. And if you were clever, you could even set your shuriken count to 0 in the options menu to unlock unlimited shurikens, a bug that turned into a fan favorite cheat. When The Revenge of Shinobi hit store shelves, it was a critical success. Reviewers praised its graphics, music, and gameplay. It was one of the first games that made players say, "This is why I need a Genesis." It helped define Sega's early identity, edgier, faster, and with a bit more attitude than Nintendo's offerings. And it laid the foundation for future Shinobi games like Shinobi 3: Return of the Ninja Master, which built on what Revenge of Shinobi started. Let's break down a few more fun facts about this game that show us just how unique it really was. First, The Revenge of Shinobi was one of the earliest games to use parallax scrolling to create depth in backgrounds. This made the stages feel larger and more dynamic, helping the Genesis show off its 16-bit muscle. Second, Yuzo Koshiro's soundtrack didn't just become a fan favorite, it inspired generations of chiptune musicians. His work on this game is still remixed today, and he's performed music from the game live in concert. Third, the game's title was changed for the US because Sega wanted something that sounded darker and more dramatic. Super Shinobi worked in Japan, but The Revenge of Shinobi promised action and a story of vengeance, which fit the tone they wanted for the American audience. And finally, Sega actually did get permission to use Spider-Man for a little while. Early Genesis manuals even include a note about Spider Man appearing under license from Marvel. But once the license expired, later versions of the game had to change his design to avoid trouble. Today, The Revenge of Shinobi remains a beloved classic. It's challenging but rewarding, with music and style that still hold up. Whether you're playing it again on NSO or trying it for the first time, it's a game that shows why the Genesis was such a powerhouse in its day. So what about you? Did you grow up playing The Revenge of Shinobi, or are you discovering it now? Drop a comment below and let me know your favorite memory or toughest boss fight. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, be sure to join us on Wednesday nights right here on YouTube for NPC Players Pulse, where you can share your thoughts about the weekly game. And as always, play it loud.